Right, yo, what's going on, guys? Rhys here from MoreThanLifting with MoreThanLifting Podcast. Conversations about calisthenics, bodyweight training, gymnastics, all that good stuff. I'm Rhys, personal trainer from UK and founder of MoreThanLifting, and in this episode of the podcast, we're basically just talking about getting back involved. It's been a long time since I did a podcast. I'm doing this live on YouTube and Twitch, and I'm also doing this on Instagram as long as my internet keeps up with it. I've had a couple of problems and trying to monitor everything. This is kind of all new to me. But yeah, hopefully everything's going to go nice. I'm going to start doing this a lot more frequently. Like, oh, how do I get chat up? I don't know. Okay, we won't worry about chat. But yeah, we're on. Hopefully everything's going well. Hopefully we don't have any issues. I can't really see anything going on by there. But yeah, basically it's been a while since we did a podcast, and I'm looking to get back on it much more regularly. Sorry about my mic cable. But I've had so many problems with actually trying to figure out live streaming. It's been an absolute nightmare. I've had problems with sound. I've had problems with actual frame rates and capture and everything lagging, and it's been an absolute disaster. But loads is going on with MoreThanLifting. Loads has been happening with the last year. Loads has been happening this year coming as well. So I kind of wanted to just kick off with like a welcome back session. Anyone who's around, happy to get involved, and I assume that this is actually working, although I don't really know. But yeah, cool. Anyway, if Instagram's not working, it doesn't matter. Yeah, so I'm going to start doing a lot more of these live, going in through the rest of the year, basically. I think that just getting it live is just going to make me actually do it, because it's been a long time since I've done it, because I just haven't been able to make time for it. And so that's basically been the reason that it's not been going on. What's happening with this? This isn't happening. Let's try that again. Nothing but technical issues, guys. Nothing but technical issues. Okay, we're on. Yeah, so MoreThanLifting Podcast. Okay, so I'm glad to be back. I'm red. I feel red. I mean, I don't know if you can see it too well, but I'm literally red in the face at the minute, because I've just finished doing a 2-hour live stream for Gymshark. On their Twitch channel. If you were there for that, then great. If you weren't, just make sure to check in next week, because we have next week we're doing only an hour. This week I did 2 hours because one of the other PTs dropped out. But excuse me, I'm basically going to be doing, for the next 4 weeks, we're going to be doing every Wednesday, 6 p.m., 1 hour workshop. Oh, blimey. 1 hour workshop, live workout at Gymshark on their Twitch channel. So definitely go and check that out. This week was really good fun. Like I say, we did an extended session, so it was 2 hours instead of 1, because I was covering for someone else as well. But we did skills, we did like handstand stuff, we did planche work, we did crow stand stuff, we did L-sits. That was just the skills part. Then we did leg stuff, so we did pistols and shrimp squats, and we had like 6 sets of legs basically. And what else did we manage to get through? We also did 6 different variations of push-ups for sets of 10, and we did some core stuff, and we did like basic kind of conditioning, like single leg. We did loads of core stuff. We did plank raises, like side planks. We did front bridge raises, and then we did a whole half hour of just mobility to like kind of wind everyone down from the session. So it was absolutely crazy. It was really, really good fun. It's happening every week, so definitely go and check out those Gymshark live streams if you haven't already. They stick around for like 60 days on their Twitch account as well, so you can always go and kind of backtrack the last 2 months. We've just done loads of, basically. It's been amazing. Yeah, so that's a little bit about what's been going on. Loads and loads of stuff's been happening with MoreThanLifting though. I've got a handstand program that I'm ready to kind of bring out on this app that I've been working on. Got an L-sit program that's in the mix, got a beginners program coming out as well. So that's awesome. But basically, I've just been sat at home doing some training, like recovering from my hernia and the operation, and then like chilling basically and working on the website. I've been doing loads and loads of other stuff outside of personal training as well, but I've been coaching around London, like down the parks and that, just like kind of sneaking around trying to get caught or get in any trouble. And yeah, it's been a bit of a mess, but it's working and it's going well. So big shout out to everyone who's kind of stuck and carried on coaching and training. Yeah, so that's a little bit about what's been going on. The things that are happening this year with MoreThanLifting include like the 100 push-up challenge, So the 100 push-up challenge is basically like a weekly challenge we do. Every week is a new variation. If you haven't listened to the podcast or you haven't kept up with the old episodes or the 100 push-up challenge at all, then there's basically something brand new to you. But basically, for an entire year, we do a different push-up challenge. Every week is a new challenge, new variations of push-ups brought into the mix, and we basically do 5 sets of 20 reps, 5 different variations. And every week we kick out the last set, so the easiest one, and we bring in a new variation that's going to be a little bit harder, make it a little bit tougher. And that's basically how the 100 push-up challenge works. I need to redo, so on Instagram it's been going fine, but where I've been live streaming on YouTube and Twitch, I've had some technical issues because I literally don't know until after it's done, because I can't hear it, otherwise you'd all hear me now. So I've had some technical issues with that, which means that I've basically got to re-record this week's because there's just no sound at all. So that's a bit of a pain, but I'm just going to get on with that tomorrow. It's not the end of the world. And then going forward, hopefully we're not going to have the same issue again. We can just smash out for the rest of the year. You can sign up to that at MoreThanLifting.com/100challenge. So go there, sign up. You can check out all the previous push-up challenges as well, so you can catch up if you've been stuck behind. And basically, I'll just email you every week with a fresh challenge. There's a whole post that talks you through that as well, and everything that goes with it. So yeah, kind of fun. Get involved. That's not a complete training program. So if you're doing that, if you kind of follow along with that, you also need to do like proper training as well. That's not a like one size fits all. Check that. That's not like a one size fits all for your push-up challenge. Like it's not a one size fits all training program. Stumbled over my words, sorry, because I'm exhausted. But yeah, basically you've got to do other training as well. So like normal calisthenics training or normal weight training or CrossFit or anything that you fancy doing to kind of supplement that is perfect, as long as you're doing a complete training kind of program all the time. And you can do that yourself, or you can invest in like a coach like myself or anyone else. Anyone else will be able to help you out with your training. But it's really important that you do that, because otherwise you're not going to be progressing, and just thinking that one session every week is going to be enough to kind of get you through and get you any kind of results is you're lying to yourself basically. And sometimes, including myself, you need to get slapped around the head to kind of bring you back down to earth and be like, you got to actually focus on doing stuff properly as well, But yeah, so as long as you're focusing on like proper training, you can go check out those Gymshark live streams and just do them for like the whole year. That's all right. That's something. But finding like a little program online, or like following something, or like you can, obviously I'm biased, but you can get a program of me. I do coaching online and in person. You can join anyone's classes, like a CrossFit gym or just a regular gym. As long as you're doing something consistently that's going to help get you towards your goal, then you're going to be able to keep up with the challenges all year as well. And it's just a bit of fun, realistically, but it's a way of understanding how progressive training works. So just by introducing something every week that's a little bit more difficult and kind of challenges you a little bit more, to teach you how to start progressing, whether it's through calisthenics or whether it's through regular weight training. It gives you like a kind of roadmap so you can understand how progressive training works and kind of how you can do that with just body weight exercise as well. So you don't rely on being at the gym at the minute, or having to invest thousands of pounds in like a barbell or some kettlebells or whatever, because stuff is extortionate at the minute. One of my clients got some adjustable dumbbells. They go up to like 40 kilos, fair play. That's quite heavy. But he spent 600 or 700 quid on them. Like, it's an insane amount of money that these things are going for at the minute. And like just a year or 2 years ago, it would have been half of that, I'm sure, because that's just extortion. People, you wouldn't be able to justify spending that. But now that there's the demand, like the need for it to be able to train at home, then that's become quite a high priority for a lot of people. I wouldn't recommend investing in loads of weights. Like you can get decent training from just about any other thing. Like you can do with absolutely nothing at home. You can get like just a pull-up bar is enough to do pull exercises, which otherwise you might struggle to do. But yeah, so pull-up bar is the main thing really if you're looking for home workouts. Like you can get one that goes in your door frame for like 15-20 quid on Amazon. That's going to do you fine. As long as it A, fits in your door frame, and B, you're careful that it doesn't do any damage to that over time, especially if you're like me, renting in London. You don't want to be having a row with your landlords at the end of the year going, well, I needed to do pull-ups, because that's not really a justifiable reason for damaging the property, But they're also quite cheap to replace door frames, so like it's not that bad, I don't think anyway. You get a bit of gloss and a bit of wood and you're done, aren't you? Yeah, so that's the main thing. You can get away with just having that and you're sorted. Rings are another thing that you can use as long as you've got somewhere to hang them. So maybe you have to take them outside, which is a bit frustrating. You know, it's a bit of a nuisance if it's like raining or it's like particularly cold one day. You might talk yourself out of going training, but having that around is going to get you much better results than you would from trying to lug a barbell around in your flat and being nervous about either smashing through the ceiling or smashing through the floor with your weights. So rings are a top priority in my opinion. And all right, mate. And yeah, give you a proper bit of equipment that can get you proper results, give you loads of stuff you can work with. Like rings are a great investment, and they're not that expensive either. Like you think a decent set, a decent pull-up bar is going to be £100, like Gravity Fitness or Pull Up Mate or something like that. Whereas rings are like 30 quid for a really good set. Then you can just get them, and you're done. Like you're sorted. You don't really need anything else. You can obviously get other stuff. Like me and Danny have got some dumbbells that we've just had lying around here that we use for like high intensity, like metcons and stuff like that, just for a bit of weight loss or a bit of like cardiovascular training, because I mean, who wants to go for runs, right? But we've also got like an exercise ball. I literally use it as a footrest. That's kind of fun. I've also got yoga mats just for when we're like stretching out or doing stuff on the floor and I don't want to bruise my knees, because it'll raise questions with my clients, obviously. And yeah, and other things. I mean, I don't know what we got now. I can't think. Dipping bars I got. Dipping bars are quite a big one. Some ankle weights and stuff like that. So you can build like a home gym. You can, absolutely. And there's plenty of things you can buy that aren't going to cost you loads of money, that you can invest in, just like small stuff that'll help, that you can get like a good result from. Like ankle weights, they're not that expensive. You know, you might only get like low weights, but you can get quite high ones. Like I have a pair of like 5 kilo ones. That's 10 kilos. You stick that on your ankles and start doing your core work, and you're definitely going to know about it. Trust me. Any kind of donkey kicks or anything like that you might see the girls doing on Instagram. Like girls, you can get them. You can get a pair of them for like 40 quid, and they're super easy to use. You just strap them around your legs, and they're really, really functional. I mean, they're going to be too hard for a lot of people. It's going to be too much. But it's something that you can work into, even if you start with like knees bent and then progress to like a straight leg while you're doing that kind of stuff. So there's always options for equipment you can get for your home workout stuff. And yeah, I'd recommend investing in something at least. But that's something you can get, a couple of little things you can get, which will help you do a complete training program for as long as we need to be in lockdown for, you know, like without going off on a tangent and going all crazy about what's happening with that, you know, like, because everyone seems to be an expert, don't they? I'm not, but just having a couple of little things on hand that you have, like most of these things I got years ago. The only thing I bought during lockdown for actual training is the dumbbells, and that's because Danny literally wanted dumbbells. She's like, I'm getting dumbbells, so we kind of found whatever we could and got it, because that's it. And it does make life easier. Don't get me wrong, but if you know how to train just using your body weight and without using any weights, then lockdown's really just about going down the park and training, like sliding under the fence or like sneaking through the gaps or hopping over. Where I'm living, like around the local park, people are literally tearing the fencing apart to get to the gym. I've been coaching in there. Obviously, I haven't damaged any property or anything, but I've been coaching in there, just getting in, deadlifting the thing, getting a client underneath, and no one's ever bothered me. I've been to 3 different parks where everyone's training there all day. Like it is a deterrent, don't get me wrong. And obviously I'm not encouraging you to go around and like sneak into the parks and risk getting in trouble. But at least, Gymshark's got back to me. But at least you can go somewhere and do some training. And if that's the case, and it means you don't have to invest in anything, maybe some resistance bands or whatever, if you're looking to learn something that's too difficult for you. But you can even do that with just negatives or regular like pulls and work onto muscle ups. You can do inverted hangs, leg raises, like all this stuff you can do to get in amazing shape. You don't need any weights. You don't need to invest in any stuff to actually work towards. So you don't have to invest in any equipment to be able to just train at home. Like you can find an excuse to go down the park and train using some equipment, using the tree, hang up your rings from the bars. That's what I do with clients. Just hang them straight up, find a bar high enough, and you can literally do anything. So although lockdown is happening and, you know, everyone's in a bit of a state because of it, there are also plenty of things you can be doing, plenty of ways you can get in great shape. You know, you can join the live streams, you can do anything like that. You can go, you can just follow along with people's classes like YouTube, Instagram. Everything's full of different ideas for training at home, training at park, training with little bits of equipment. If you've got like some kettlebells, if you've got some dumbbells, like there are workouts just waiting on Instagram. Just search the hashtags, and go and find what you need and then smash it out. Like there's a lot of people have had the time off. I had the time off for a long time as well because I was injured, and then because I was just a bit down and a bit like mopey because I was struggling to like focus, and like I was worried about work and earning money and shit. But the truth is, like, just doing your training is going to help you fix your mindset. It's going to help you get back to actually focus on what is important, and it'll give you something to work towards. It'll help you sleep better. It'll get you looking good and feeling good about yourself. It's really like, it is a way of fixing all the problems. Like I've had some of my mates from back home, like some of my friends, old school friends and stuff, messaging me, oh yeah, I'm really struggling, asking how I've been and that. And all they're saying is like, oh, we've got a question. I'll get to that in just a second. They were all like, oh yeah, I'm really struggling. I put on weight, blah, blah, blah. I put on weight in lockdown as well. Like, just got to work hard at it. And as soon as the first session's always the hardest, you try to get training and you're like, oh, and I put it off for like 3 weeks. And then eventually Danny was like, we're training at 6:30, so you better get up because we're doing it. And after 2 or 3 goes, like, I was up and I was ready to go, and that was it, ready to train. Right, let's just get at this quickly. Outdoor. Oh, right, you've been working on your false grip. Yeah, so false grip is one of those things that does mash up your hands. Right? And yeah, sure, we can have plenty of tips, mate. So are you doing it so with the false grip, are you training on the rings, or are you training on a bar for your false grip? One of the best things you can do just to train your false grip is physically hanging in your false grip. One of the hardest things to do, especially on a bar, is to get your arms straight. On the rings, it's easier because you can externally rotate, like you can turn the rings out, and that'll give you a platform to actually, but as long as you're here in your false grip, then you've got a good position. So, okay, on the bar. So on the bar, hanging, doing the false grip with everything. So try pull-ups in a false grip, or as close as you can. Like, it might not be perfect, you might not be like hanging like this. I know I can do it because I'm used to doing it because I trained it for ages, but you're going to have this kind of little rotation in your arms. Getting into that position is difficult, all right? But if you can get into it, then that's going to help you loads. Being able to just hang in there, do scapular pulls, do pull-ups, any excuse you can use to get them. Doing like pullovers and then negative muscle ups. So when you pull up and over, leading with your legs, like it's called a pullover. I mean, I can't really explain it better, but your legs come straight up over and you kind of almost do a backwards roll over the bar. That'll help you get on top into like the top of a muscle up, and you can use that as a way to do negatives. And when you come under the bar, really focus on just gripping. You got to hold on tight, and what muscle up is going to do is going to really work your flexors, which are the muscles that are responsible for this movement that I'll show you. Can't really see them tighten up here. I can't get a good angle for you. See how when you squeeze that, you get a little bit of shadow by here. That's your flexors getting super tight. So you need to train those muscles by actually being in the false grip. And you can do this hanging from the bar. Hanging from the bar is the easiest one. You can get into position. You can use any excuse you can to actually train this position. So like tuck front levers, leg raises, pull-ups. You can even do like on the bar, you can do inverted rows. Like if you've got a low bar and stuff, you can do like bodyweight rows also in the false grip. Literally any excuse you can get to get into those is amazing. If you can get into a bar, into a false grip, but then can't straighten your arms, that's okay. Just practice holding like that. Let it stretch out. Do one arm. Let it stretch out. It'll be easier to get your arm straight with one arm because you can rotate your shoulders a little bit and kind of stretch and extend out. But yeah, that's one of the main things. You've got to use the false grip as much as you can. Also though, mobilize your wrists. So the problem that people have when they're training false grip is that they end up overstressing their flexors, and they can end up with like golfer's elbow is this side, which is basically where you strain the tendon that goes under your elbow. So there's a little bit of bone on the inside of your elbow, and there's a little tendon that loops round, which connects your muscle in your forearm. And what's happening is you're tightening the muscle, but then you're tightening the muscle even more from up here, so you're adding extra contraction that your muscle's not really used to, and that can put a lot of pressure on this side of the muscle, basically where it connects around here, especially when you're then pulling through that movement. So you're tightening it, contracting the muscle and compressing it here, and then you're moving through a range, maintaining this position in your false grip. So pulling down like this then puts a lot of tension through that tendon, and that causes golfer's elbow. And so what you need to do when you do this, especially when you're training false grip, is always strengthen up your extenders so they're on the top. So like holding a weight or using a resistant band and just pulling back like this. You see those muscles firing there a little bit, using them. That's a really good way of doing it. Just getting those nice and tight, hanging loads, stretching them out. So like on the floor, have your hands flat on the ground, and you want to just rock left to right, back and forth over it like that to stretch out your flexors especially. Flip your hands over, like a little wrist complex. You can actually see it. I've got a video on the YouTube channel stretching out your wrists, so go and check that out. But that is another thing that's really important. Really working on mobilizing that joint, because unless you've done that before, then your wrist just isn't going to be that mobile. It's impossible for it to be that mobile because you've never done the training for it. But working on that's really, really important, and that'll make your false grip a lot easier. It'll help you actually wrap your hand around the bar more and get in a much stronger position, and actually get that tension right in your hands. Anything that will improve grip strength is also going to help your false grip. So, for example, one thing my gymnastics coach used to make me do, Tim, is you get like a little bit of wood, like a bar like this, and you wrap some string around, and then you'd have like a weight on the end, like a kilo, like something really light, because it's a lot harder than it looks. What I used to do actually was I did a video for My Protein on this, which is use 2 like bottles or like shaker bottles, fill them up with water, cap them, and tie them up on a piece of string, and then you just hold the bar out. So you're holding the bar out flat like this, tied onto the string, and you're just gonna do this. And you're basically winding it up around the string all the way up to the top, and then you're going to wind it back. So then you're going to pull back the other way like this. Okay, and that's going to train your forearms a lot, and it's going to build a lot of strength. It's going to build a lot of mobility in your forearms as well, because you're basically working them to exhaustion, which is quite difficult to do otherwise, especially through a range. Because if you think about it, mostly what you do with your forearms is just grip, and that's it. Like if you're doing deadlifts, you're just gripping. If you're doing pull-ups, generally your hands stay in the same place. So it's not like you're staying tight and then working through the range. So actually giving it that kind of stimulation is going to help build those muscles a lot. And then you're going to have, forearms like Popeye. They're going to be bigger than your biceps and your triceps. People are going to be looking at you like, what's going on with this geezer? Do you know what I mean? That's so much meat. But yeah, that's going to help your false grip immensely. So I definitely recommend doing that. Hopefully that helps, Abdul, because false grip is one of those things that's just really, really difficult to train. And unless you have the right kind of guidance, like for me, it's my gymnastics coach. I'd never have learned about this from anyone else. It's literally my gymnastics coach who helped me out with this. And that was the trick, like training the grip strength, especially with that exercise. That one, it's on Instagram as well. So you can check that out on the Instagram, on my Instagram account. It's back in the feed a little bit. But yeah, I hope that helps. And if you have any other trouble with your false grip or you need any other advice with it, just reach out to me. Like, I'm more than happy to help anyone. Just give me a message on Instagram or something, and yeah, we can work through it. All right, guys. I don't know how long I've been on so far. About 20 minutes or so. I'm going to be packing it in because it's almost 8:15, and I literally haven't stopped since about 5:30. Because of the Gymshark live stream. So I really need to get some food in me and like a drink and stuff. But yeah, thanks for showing up. If you've got any other questions, just give us a shout out. Never practice handstands. Boy, so why do I look like a ballerina? Yeah, so that's another thing. Okay, so quickly, handstands. Right, so one thing with handstands, I used to get, I remember when I first started gymnastics and I was working in construction. And I went into work one day and had bruises all up my arms by here because I was training on the P-bars. Proper like cow patch like bruises all up my arms from that landing on the P-bars like that. And one of the engineers was like, what have you been doing? I was like, oh yeah, I've been doing gymnastics. Like I've been doing this. So they obviously had a good laugh like about that, like teasing me about it, going, oh yeah, what do you do? Like the string, like the whatever, it's the ribbon. There you go. They're like, oh, you're doing the ribbon, and now you're like teasing me. And then I showed them some videos of the stuff that I've been learning, and they were like, holy shit, that's pretty decent. But one thing that I learned from doing gymnastics was how to handstand better, and it taught me to like point my toes and keep my legs straight and my arms straight, and actually get into a handstand with my hands above my head like this, and like my leg out, and like proper like a ballerina, like you say. And it's one of those things that a lot of people who do calisthenics don't think about, because they see people doing and they think strength, and so they get into like a crow or like just kind of bent arm and try and press out. But doing it with your legs straight and giving it that kind of ballerina movement actually makes it a lot easier to train, a lot easier to learn, because you're not stressing yourself out with the strength and the coordination. There's a lot less moving parts. You've got your shoulder hinge, which if you're starting with your hands above your head, you're going to kind of avoid anyway. in which case it's just your hips and your wrists. Whereas if you're trying to do it from a press, like on the floor, from learning, like that's crazy. You need strong delts, you need strong triceps, you need good coordination, you need strong wrists, like good stability right from the get-go, and you need to get up in a straight line somehow from like being all curled up in a ball. So you've got your hip hinge, you've got your knees and your ankles all contributing, and a bent back as well, all contributing to like trying to get straight somehow. Whereas if you just start with your hands like this and you kick up nice and straight, but by the time you get your hands on the floor, you're already halfway up, and then you just land in the handstand, like bring your other foot up and you're done. Yeah, it might look a bit funny, but that is literally the easiest way. I saw a post on Instagram the other day, and it kind of wound me up a bit because it's misleading, and I don't know the geezer, like I just saw some post on Instagram, like I don't know how, I don't really look through Instagram, but anyway, I saw this post and he's like, you should never kick up into a handstand because you should always be training the strength. And I completely understand where he's coming from. He's talking about progressing past the handstand onto handstand push-ups, and that's it really, handstand push-ups. But the reality is, if you can't get into a handstand, if you don't know what a handstand feels like, then you'll never be very successful at pressing into it, because you put in so much pressure on yourself to actually get there. I knew a guy who just trained calisthenics who'd never done gymnastics before, and this is when I was doing my PT qualification, and he was strong, super strong. He could manage to do one or two little handstand push-ups, tiny range of motion, but it still counts. Like he was still doing a push-up, so props to him. But he couldn't do a handstand. Like he wouldn't kick up. Instead, he just put his hands on the ground and try and like fold up. And every time he did it, he'd get his legs straight, his arms would still be bent, and then he'd push up at an angle like this. So he'd never be able to actually get into the handstand. The problem with that is you don't know where you're supposed to be. And when you're doing a handstand push-up, you come down at an angle like that and then push back up straight anyway. So unless you know what that feels like and your body understands and you have that proprioception, to be actually successful at it is like, it's very, very difficult. So like, shout out if you learn to do a handstand that way, like well done. But do it like a ballerina, like Abdul was saying. That's how you need to get into handstand to learn it. You can use it to kick up at a wall. You can actually train doing a handstand and train being stable. Whereas if you're just trying to press up, like until you're strong enough, you'll never be able to do a handstand. And that's like you're approaching it from the wrong direction. You're forcing yourself to get strong first, whereas you should just be learning to do the handstand. Once you can stabilize, once you kind of know what it feels like to be upside down. I remember when I was learning to handstand, I was shit scared. I was scared of falling on my back. I felt like I was going to die, like even internally, I wasn't actually saying that out loud. I'm not doing handstand because I'm going to die. But I felt like it, like internally, my brain, like as soon as I get upside down, I'm like panicking and I'm like falling over and trying to get out. So what was happening is I'd never commit enough to actually get vertical and stay there and actually focus on the stability. So instead, I was just kicking up loads. I was burning myself out. I was getting knackered. I was sweating, but I was never actually achieving a handstand. I was never getting close enough, or never get into the right position to actually learn the handstand, to actually stabilize properly and actually learn how to hold the position and know what it felt like and actually familiarize myself with being upside down. Once I realized that I was being a muppet and I had to do it properly, then I started progressing and I started learning. But at first, I was just wasting time. It took me about a year and a half. Like it took me a year to be able to maybe do a handstand for like 2 or 3 seconds. That's how long it took me. I didn't have a lot of the specific training or like guidance that a lot of people get now, because I had my gymnastics coach who'd been doing handstands since he was like 5, and he was like, dude, you're just standing on your hands. Like, why can't you do it yet? And I was like, come on, there's a bit more to it than that. There must be, because otherwise I'd be able to do it. And once I actually figured that out, I needed to do all the steps. I needed to train against the wall. I needed to train on the floor. I needed to practice doing dismounts and everything like that. Once I started getting that in my head and I started coming at it from the right angle, from the right perspective to actually progress and do the steps and actually learn to do handstands rather than just try and do loads of handstands, then I started progressing a lot faster. And even then, consistency was still like impossible. It wasn't until I did a challenge, right, where I was trying to add 2 seconds to my handstand every day. So it was like a 6-minute handstand in 30 days, like a challenge I did on Instagram. And before that, I could like maybe hold a handstand for like 10 seconds if I was lucky and if I got up right, but it would take me 5 goes. But once I did this challenge, I started with 2 seconds, so that was easy. Day 1, bam, smashed it out. And then day 2, 4 seconds, like smashed that out. Once I got to like 5 days in, when I was doing 10-second handstands, it started taking a little bit longer. And by the time I got to like day 26, and I was doing like a 40, 50-second handstand, it'd take me an hour and a half to do it, but just drilling it and being that like diligent, just more handstands, more reps, and not being satisfied with the hold, I learned how to stabilize much better than I did in the previous 3 years or 4 years that I've been doing handstands for. And that was really a game changer for me. So if you are ever trying to learn to handstand, A, do the steps and learn to stabilize and get comfortable being upside down. B, do loads of conditioning, like do the strength stuff, do wall walks, do shoulder taps, do wall like shrugs. They're all so important to actually give you the strength and stability upside down. And it teaches you to breathe upside down, because you spend so much time in that position that you have to breathe. Otherwise you'd pass out, you know. I wouldn't recommend that, obviously. But do the steps, do the conditioning, and then actually just drill it. Like, it takes time to learn to do a handstand. You've got to work hard at it, you know, you've got to put the time in. It's not something, unless you did it before. Like when I started gymnastics, I'd never done handstands. So it's not like I could do it when I was a kid. You know, I saw people do it as a kid and I was like, oh, that'd be cool. But I never actually learned to do it. But when I actually got around to doing it, that was the big game changer for me. Developing that consistency by just drilling it for an hour or so a day. And it used to piss off my girlfriend at the time, because she'd get home from work, or I'd get home from work, and I'd be like, right, shower and handstands. And that was my routine for the month. And I understand why that get on her nerves, you know, because she was doing other stuff, or she just got and she wanted to chill, and I was like clearing out all the space in the front room to do my handstands. But, you know, if that's what you want and that's what you got to do, that's what it takes, you know. And I was living in a tiny house, so like I needed to move stuff to get a space to do handstands. Otherwise I break stuff. And it's one of those things. It's one of the hardest skills you'll learn, because a lot of other skills are a lot easier to develop. That's the foundation. That handstand teaches you the proprioception. It teaches you to have that awareness and control of your body that nothing else really teaches you. You know, you can learn to front lever and not be able to do handstands. You can learn muscle ups and not do handstands. You can learn snatches, cleans. You can learn anything and still not be able to do handstands. Once you can do handstands, learning everything gets a lot easier, because you've done one of the most like difficult things. How long does it take you to walk? You know, it probably took you, I have no idea. Like, so my judgment on that is like nothing. You know, I couldn't be like, it takes 4 years to learn to walk. Like, I mean, and that seems like too long. But maybe like a year, maybe 2 years, you know, to be able to walk. So you've got to think, it's going to take you a while to actually learn to do a handstand. Like, you're physically entirely inverted, upside down. If you haven't got particularly good shoulder mobility, that's going to be a hindrance. If you haven't got particularly good wrist mobility or core strength, they're all going to be a hindrance. They're all going to hold you back a little bit. So there's a lot of stuff that needs to go into doing a handstand. It's not as simple as just kicking up and being able to do it. Although people do it like that, you look at their handstand and you're like, I mean, that's a floppy mess disaster, isn't it? Like, a lot of the times they might count that, but my gymnastics teacher would have kicked me or slapped me around the head for doing something like that. I'd be like, what's that? It's not a handstand. You're just like holding yourself. But yeah, handstands, they're a tough one. They are a tough one. All right, guys, putting the time in will help you get there, but it does take time and it does take a lot of effort, and you need to be focused on it as well. Like, basically all I do, like, my job is handstands and muscle ups. That's what I teach people now. And everyone takes such a different length of time to actually learn to do it. I had a guy, he was a postman, never done anything like that in his life, learned to handstand in 3 months, 65 years old, and he had terrible mobility, like thoracic, shoulder mobility, everything was a disaster. But because he worked on it and he did the steps and he focused, in 3 months he could do a handstand. I have clients who I've been coaching who are much younger and stronger, who've been doing it for years, who still can't do a handstand now because they don't put the time in, they don't work on the right things to do it, and that's it. Really, like, you just need to put the time in. You need to want it. You need to be hungry for handstands to get there. Unless you're a girl and have done handstands before, in which case you probably get there quite easy, because like there's a certain amount of muscle memory and just understanding of being upside down that can go into it. All right, guys, that's got to be it. I'm sorry, I'm going to be signing off now. Luke, you've only just got here, mate. Love you loads. I hope you're well. We need to have a call, man, because I fucking miss you. All right, having a poo while watching. Love it. Oh, man, I wish I could reach out and give you a big hug. Anyway, guys, that's it. for this episode of the podcast. I'm going to be doing them every week from now on. Probably not now, because after doing the Gymshark live stream, like I basically just need to eat. But definitely go and check that out. Next Wednesday, 6 p.m. Gymshark live stream on Twitch. I'm doing the 100 push-up challenge live every week as well on Mondays, also at 6 p.m. Podcast is going to be coming out a lot more recently now. I know guys on Instagram, this is obviously just an Instagram live, but where I'm recording this and putting it out on Twitch and YouTube, I'm also going to be putting it on Spotify. It's going to be on iTunes, like all the podcast places. I'm really excited to get back into this. Got loads of stuff to cover and loads of stuff to talk about. So guys, if you like what you've seen, as always, give us a like. If you're not subscribed already, then do so. On the podcast, give us an honest 5-star rating and review. And I'll catch up with you in the next episode. Keep in touch with yourselves. And with that, bye.